What is hell? It may seem like people who say something along the lines of, "This is hell," could refer to going through a particularly unlucky moment of their week. However, it is much worse than you might think. Hell can manifest into many different forms that all equate to diminishing one's innocence, even if they have any to begin with. It is believed by some to be a state of suffering beyond what anyone is capable of enduring. But just how much torture is one able to withstand before they eventually start losing hope? This would be put on display in a little-known town located in a small mountain range, a place where a particularly gruesome incident would unfold. A clear dark night hovers above the open woodland of the park, with a bright full moon shining on the trees. Donovan was walking home after a very busy week behind a reception desk at work. He couldn't wait to make it home and finally relax for the weekend. As he was about to pass by a park bench, he hears a rustling in the bushes right beside it. Donovan pauses as he wonders what critter could possibly be inside. He cautiously walks up to the bush as it continues rustling. It would then be followed by truly the strangest thing that the young man ever saw. It was an ant, a big ant, bigger than any insect he had ever seen before, its height almost reaching Donovan's ankles. As the insect crawled out from under the bush, it stepped onto the walkway and suddenly turned its head to Donovan. Its black beady eyes seemed blank, yet it appeared almost as if it was staring directly at him. It was unnerving. The creature was still staring at Donovan as he walked past. What just happened? What was that thing? Should I look back to see if it's still there? When Donovan peered behind his back, the ant was nowhere to be seen. A few moments later, Donovan would walk by a small pond on his left before spotting something perched on a lily pad. It's that same ant again. There was no way an ant would ever be seen at the water, let alone sitting on a lily pad in a pond. He would later walk by a tree to his right before noticing the ant once more, this time perching on a branch under the canopy. Donovan started getting anxious almost instantly as soon as he realized the insectoid was following him. He started picking up the pace as rain began to pour on him. Donovan's heart was gradually racing. His legs are shaking. His spine is chilling. How could that thing have followed him that quickly? Donovan was heading for the park gates. His apartment resides at the east entrance of the park, not too far from here. Donovan waited for the pedestrian light to go green as he anxiously looked around for any sign of the ant. It was indeed there, behind him, standing at the gates while it continued raining. But after Donovan blinked just once, the creature was nowhere to be seen. Shit! The ant had just vanished quite literally at the blink of an eye. Donovan is now terrified. He is at the point where as soon as the light turned green, he is running as fast as he can away from the park. Before he could reach the door to the apartment building, however, Donovan stumbled into a truly baffling predicament. The ant was now standing in front of the door of his own home. Donovan stood there, frozen in fear, face to face with whatever this insect could possibly be while thunder and lightning flashed. He now needed to choose his next action carefully. There's no telling what this thing is capable of. Donovan, without hesitation, charged straight at the ant and delivers a kick at it as hard as he could onto the wall, knocking it down. He then starts beating the absolute holy hell out of the ant in a fit of complete anger and annoyance. He deals a series of hard kicks and stomps to the ant as it uttered what appeared to be grunts while struggling to move. Die, you little bastard! Die! After dealing several more blows, the ant stopped moving, lying motionless on the sidewalk. Is it dead? Is it finally over? Well, no matter. Donovan rushed straight for the door. He was finally glad to be back home. When Donovan entered the apartment, he went straight to his bedroom without even changing out of his work clothes. He was exhausted. After all, He deserved to have a rest after all the crap that just went down not too long ago. Donovan quickly fell sound asleep on his bed. At some point in the night, someone would break into the apartment and sneak towards the bedroom. They would look over Donovan while he was still asleep before placing a handkerchief of chloroform over his face. Once he woke up from his slumber, it was too late to realize what was going on, as he had quickly passed out from inhaling the handkerchief. Donovan woke up and found himself in an unfamiliar place. It was a small empty room with a window to the right seemingly boarded up. The place has cracks on the wall near the floor, with pieces of tiny debris and drywall. It was dark, with no sign of light to be seen anywhere. Where am I? What is this place? Donovan observes the vacant room while taking the time to process. He then starts to feel a pain in his left leg. As he looked down, his face turned from confusion to utter shock. Slash marks on his ankle marked by slowly gushing blood. Donovan panics as he attempts to get up and starts searching for wherever an exit might be. He starts limping out into the hallway as he quickly takes a glance through any room that he passes by, hoping that there would be any sort of way out. Donovan continues to search the empty halls for a while. He hadn't been keeping track of how long he's been doing this for. He feels like he's been going in circles forever. Will he ever get out alive? Suddenly, he trips and falls to the dusty ground. He is now much too exhausted to keep going forward, as his aching leg is still bleeding. Donovan then hears a faint sound. It sounds like tiny footsteps. It's coming from behind him and is getting gradually louder. He immediately turns his body around to look, only to find nothing but darkness. Then, a pair of white, shining pupils appear. Not too bright, but a very piercing stare nonetheless, almost like glow-in-the-dark stickers. Donovan breathed stagnantly as the eyes began to approach. His heart is now beating faster than it ever has before. It almost feels like confronting a paralysis demon. All he can do now is watch as whatever lies in the darkness reveals itself. Donovan begins to make out a small silhouette as it crept ever closer, until he can finally see what was standing in front of him. It's the ant. The same one that was previously following him all throughout the night at the park. But it looked different. This time, it stood on only 2 legs. What were once fingerless feet have now become dangerously sharp claws. From the midsection of its torso were 2 other feet that had become more scythe-like, along with what appeared to be a stinger protruding from its abdomen. Its eyes were still black, but now it had those aforementioned pupils that kept staring at Donovan. It is clear this thing is most definitely not an insect. As the 2 stared at each other, the creature began to do something unbelievable. It talked. Hey, you look like you're having a bad day, night. But I'm sure you've had better days. I myself was having a pretty good week so far, until you came along. You've got some nerve to take on such a being as myself. I've got to hand it to you though. It takes some serious balls to fight something that you don't even know about. That's what always intrigues me. You are always so afraid of something unfamiliar that you'd consider anything out of the ordinary to be a mere threat to your lives. If there was a word that describes the fear of the unknown, that would be a pretty good summarization. Oh, by the way, in case you were wondering how you ended up here, you forgot to lock your apartment room. Seriously, who forgets to lock their own door at night? Anyways, I brought you here because I want to teach you a lesson. To show you just how worthless and weak you really are. To put you in your place among everyone else. Oh, I can tell you are very afraid. Buddy, you haven't seen anything yet. I'm sure before you were sleeping nice and cozy in the comfort of your own home, knowing that you beat me, right? Well, I think it's about time for some payback. As soon as the creature finished talking, Donovan was left speechless. He was in shock that such a creature could be this cruel to want to capture and torment him, all because he otherwise acted in self-defense. There was no sound in the hallway other than Donovan's breathing, filling the air. The two were still facing at each other in the dark crevices of the hallway. Everything remained silent for quite a bit, before the creature spoke once more. "Oh, where are my manners? My name is Phello. Nice to meet you. And what's your name, sir?" "Well, aren't you just rude? Doesn't matter. I'm going to love tearing you apart. I hope you will enjoy these final moments of your life. You won't be sleeping so peacefully anytime soon. I'll show you once and for all what true hell feels like. Now run." Donovan musters up the courage to quickly get up in a split second without hesitation and start running away from Phello as fast as he can down the hallway. The ant, on the other hand, decides to take his sweet-ass time. As Donovan is running, his legs are in so much pain that he can barely keep his balance. He finds a door just ahead with a broken light above that says stairs, giving him some hope that it would lead to a way out of here. However, he trips at the first step down after blindly rushing in and falls down to the middle of the staircase. He hears Phello's tiny footsteps approaching as he struggles to get back up. He is eventually able to make it down to the first floor, where he continues to rush as fast as his tired legs can go. The first floor was more open than above, with only support beams instead of the corridored rooms from the second floor. It was there that Donovan sees a small but noticeable light from a broken window in the distance, and right beside it, a door. At last, freedom! With every ounce of energy that he has left, he bolts for the door as he loses breath. Just as he's about a few feet from the exit, a red leg sticks out and trips Donovan, causing him to fall on his face. As Donovan proceeded to get back up on his sore feet, he sees Phello looming over, but he no longer resembles an ant. He is much taller than before, yet slightly shorter than Donovan by a few inches. He resembles a dark red, lanky humanoid skeleton with dark brown hair, while still retaining his antennae, which have now changed to two small horns that curved outwards from the middle top of his head. His face is also more humanoid, in addition to sporting a tail, a pair of gray shorts, and a grimacing smile containing sharp teeth while retaining his claws. Donovan was beyond petrified at the sight as Phello spoke once more. "What's wrong? Never seen a face as adorable as this before? Too bad it'll be the last thing you'll ever see." Before there could be any reaction, Phello quickly used his lower scythe-like claws to pierce Donovan's torso. He was already in so much pain from his leg. He didn't need this as well. The creature threw Donovan away from the door, landing on his back as he faced the ceiling. Why are you doing this to me?" After Phello walks over, he smiles once more while watching Donovan writhe in pain. All he can do now is lie down in his own blood as Phello begins monologuing once more. "Karma. That's why. I feel that it's only fair that you get your comeuppance after what you did to me. No one likes to lose, after all. And did you really think escaping this building would take you to your freedom? Don't be so stupid. When you mess with me, you're better off praying for mercy than fighting back. And I don't have mercy. Face it, you're not as tough as you think. You are not safe from being pushed around. You will fall, and I will only laugh while you cry out for help. No one is here but me. Also, you're such an asshole, you know that? Haven't you ever heard of the golden rule? Treat others how you want to be treated. That being said, I did want to kill you either way, but you still could have just as easily ignored me instead of recklessly attacking me like a savage animal. Maybe then I would have left you alone and moved on to another person." What even are you?" That's none of your damn business. All you need to know is I'm someone who you do not want on your bad side. And now for the moment of truth. I hope you rot in your own filth. But don't worry, it'll all be over soon. Good night. Phello first bent down and began to choke Donovan with his first pair of claws, as he sinks his second pair onto Donovan's chest. He watched as his victim emits nothing but blood-curdling screams of asphyxiated pain as the creature continued slashing and tearing him all over. Phello continued to stab and dig into Donovan's stomach while squeezing his throat. Blood is seen gushing out from his upper body as Donovan began to lose consciousness. Phello stood up and began slowly tearing his victim's arm off, one by one. Phello made sure that Donovan took in all the pain that is being inflicted upon him, as his now limbless body was being carried by his blood-stained shirt. The two locked eyes at each other one final time. Donovan, barely conscious yet very much in agony as any hope withers away from his paralyzed self. And Phello, enjoying every moment of torture upon Donovan as he bathes in his own catharsis. Phello would then say the last thing that Donovan would ever hear. You're not special. With all his strength, Phello lifts Donovan up and completely decapitates his head from what little remained of his body. Blood splatters everywhere, on the walls, the floor, the windows, and the door. Donovan was finally no more. What was once a single man with a decent job and stable life is now reduced to nothing more than a pile of flesh. Phello looked down at the macabre mess he made, his anger finally quenched. He walks out the steel door, away from the mangled corpse, disappearing into the night without a trace. A few days later, a news report had come up on local television regarding the whereabouts of Donovan, whose body was discovered by a search team in an old abandoned building at a secluded part of town after being presumed missing. The police department had reported that they believed the suspect butchered Donovan after stabbing him, although this information was only hypothesized from what little could be gathered from both the autopsy of the corpse and the crime scene itself. The mystery behind Donovan's murder was a topic of discussion among town residents for a time, with many coming up with several theories as to who could possibly be behind this gruesome incident. Some proposed that it was a coworker who grew jealous of Donovan's life and attacked out of envy. Others think it was a person who had a bad experience as a client of Donovan's workplace. Of course, it was Phello who was really at fault for this heinous crime unbeknownst to everyone else. Who knows what Phello could be up to next? When will Phello strike again? And who is next? Although what Donovan had gone through would ultimately result in a bitter end, his death may be seen by some as merciful compared to what actual horrors of humankind exist. There are indeed people out there who revel in the suffering of others, either for their own selfish gain, a severe mental illness that they can't help, or something completely different from the matter. Some victims end up surviving, left alive to forever remember their tragic tale, and or keep it hidden out of a fear of judgment. Others, however, have unfairly had their lives taken away from their loved ones by sick, twisted individuals. But the difference could perhaps be that those who have passed away under these cruel circumstances wouldn't have to live with the trauma of going through anything like that. Perhaps it's an act of mercy to be dead so that one doesn't have to stand the harsh reality of the human world anymore. Maybe it's better to be gone than to live through hell.